Autoweb. Welcome to the Millionaire Car Salesman Podcast, the #1 resource for automotive sales professionals, managers, and owners to learn how to make money, accumulate wealth, and to all out ball out in the auto industry. And now your hosts, Sean V. Bradley and L.A. Williams.
1, 2, 3, 4,
Autoweb.
Hey everybody, this is Sean V. Bradley, CSP, and the place to be, and it is the Millionaire Car Salesman Group and the podcast. Man, I got a special guest. So check this out. I got the CEO of a company called MarketPage. His name is Waylon Myers. And this is really exciting because Wayland is from outside the automotive industry, working with Fortune 100, Fortune 500 corporations. Centi million means hundreds of millions of dollars, and billions of dollar companies. For example, like Expedia, Travelocity, their sub brands, Advanced Auto Parts, again, Airbnb, Grubhub. I mean, so again, if you're doing search engine optimization with companies at that caliber on a national/international level, you need to know your SEO stuff. So first and foremost, Waylon, thank you so much for taking the time to come onto the show. And in our industry, it's the Millionaire Car Salesman Facebook group and the Millionaire Car Salesman podcast. How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing great, Sean. I really appreciate the invite, and I'm really glad to be here.
All right, that's what's up. So let's get into it. So you are the CEO of this company. Do you personally, because sometimes chief executive officers are administrative people, they're corporate executives, but they're sometimes not subject matter experts. What would you say that your personal SEO knowledge and skills are? It doesn't mean that you're coding stuff yourself, but your subject matter expertise. What would you rank yourself approximately?
Well, I think I'm definitely the subject matter expert of the company. I do all the product design. I do all the research, work closely with the clients to develop new features and new capabilities. I've been doing this for over 15 years now, and I definitely understand my game and I like to play.
Oh, I love it. And for the record, so people are like, well, why the hell he's here? Because he now is in the automotive industry.
That's
and
right.
You have automotive clients, which we'll get to a little bit later. But what I want to talk about in this interview here is a couple of different things. I'm going to mention something now, but I want to dive into it. So I'm going to mention it. I want to definitely get through some, basics on SEO. I want to talk about not only basics, but intermediates. And then I even want to touch on some advanced stuff that people, dealers and managers, and especially marketing people in the automotive industry need to understand. Mm-hmm. But before we get to that, we got a controversial topic. So people, listen to me right now. This is about to go in. Melvin, I got a GSM from Burlington VW. Melvin, watch what we're about to do, man. Yo, I got to get my bulletproof vest because it's about to get real. I mean, because we're about to expose some stuff. So in the pre-interview, I mentioned to you, and everybody knows me, I've been very vocal about this. I'm frustrated with a lot of these bigger companies, specifically the manufacturers. So we're going to talk about manufacturers. We're not going to name drop anybody, but just the manufacturers. And people that are listening to this are going to know who exactly I'm talking about. What they do is they have relationships that they've created with certain, web development companies and or supposedly SEO, SEM companies. And sometimes people don't realize this. They might even have a proxy. So you might have a manufacturer that utilizes a company like Shift Digital, wink, 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 but they're like, you would have to be freaking stupid dealer wise if you don't think that the manufacturer is somehow financially benefiting from having said company there. Let's think about something, for example, and I'm not saying GM is one of them because I like GM. My family works at GM stores, right? But think about this. If there's 3,000 Chevy dealerships, just Chevy dealerships in the country, and they only have 2 or 3 or 4, whatever it is, preferred vendors, come on. Okay, there's got to be a reason for this. But that said vendor, let's just call that vendor SEO company X, right? Vendor X. If vendor X has got a Chevrolet contract with 3,000 stores, my opinion, that I want to ask the expert here in a second, but my opinion is there's no way in hell that vendor X can deliver the value and the level of SEO for ABC Chevrolet. For example, one of my clients where my daughter works at right now is RK Chevrolet in Wayland, New Jersey. There's no way that vendor X could give that dealership in Wayland, New Jersey, the proper SEO attention, structure, details, because it's not in their business model. In my opinion, their business model is to create a McDonald's or White Castle business. It's food, but it's fast food and it's scalable. So their model is, how can I build a product or service to serve thousands of rooftops? And that's if they only have one OEM contract. What if they have 4 too? Holy crap, that's another 3,500 or whatever it is, rooftops. So one vendor X company could literally have potentially the business with anywhere from 5,000, 6,000, 8,000 rooftops. So how can they serve 8,000 rooftops at once and give the detailed attention to that one specific store? So Waylon, do you agree with my philosophy here? And if so or not, elaborate.
Yes, I do actually, Sean. I mean, the truth is that in my research, and I've done quite a long time now, I've been researching what's going on in the auto space. I mean, with over 18,000 or so dealerships in the country, most of them, and I'm going to put 90% plus on that, I don't know exactly, but it's most of them, are using the same types of web platforms, the same 3 or 4 web platforms. It's really the platform that's really the problem. And those platforms are older technology. They're typically outdated. And as you said, they're genericized so that they kind of work for all. It's a one shop for all. And that has to be, that's definitely damaging in terms of how you customize what you need to customize for that local dealership who really needs to attract local audience, who has different types of customers, things like that. One size does not fit all in the SEO space, but there are definitely a lot of things that those platforms, just because they're older and it's not really their focus, they just miss and they just aren't doing, and they're doing things wrong at scale, which is really unfortunate for the dealerships, because the dealerships are the ones who lose out. And that's why you see, when anytime you do any kind of a search in your local market for a year make or a model of a certain car in a certain place, look who's ranking. It's not the dealerships. Most of the time it's Car Gurus and Cars.com and Auto Trader and all these really big, I call them aggregators. They're the ones who do that. And that's because of those platforms, mostly. It's the fault of the platforms.
You're 100% correct, but I want to correct you slightly, my brother.
Please.
There's not just 18,000 dealerships. There's roughly about close to 18,000 dealerships franchised. There's an additional 40,000 independent dealerships in the United States. And these companies are not just working. So if I am a Ferrari dealership or a Porsche dealership, my vendor X SEO or website company could also be dealing with hundreds or thousands of independent dealerships. So we're talking about almost 60,000 rooftops between independent and franchise in the United States. So I want to be specific for a couple of things. Here's what I find, because we've been in business for almost 18 years. And part of what we do is vendor audits, and we do marketing ROI assessments, whether it's attribution or it's manual, going in and investigating. And this is what blows my mind. The majority of these OEM sanctioned websites, right? You ready for this?
Yep.
They have low time on site and high bounce rates. When we run the Google Analytics, we could see 30, 35, 40% bounce rate. So folks, but they're peddling PPC, which I'll get into. So if you have
you want to hear something even more fun?
Yeah.
Okay. So the other thing all these platforms do, if you are out of inventory in a certain car or a model or a make or a year, your page just disappears. Now that's not going to work in Google's world, right? If the page is gone, then Google just drops you, and you can't put it back and get those rankings back. You've just lost all of that power that you might have built up for months or years of people, clicking on the page, linking to these pages, and then poof, the page is gone. There's mistakes like that happening on all these web platforms all the time. So the dealers are really being underserved. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No. This is good. This is not a dictatorship. This is a volley. You know what I'm saying? So again, you're volleying. You just spiked it. That's cool. So let me go into this. I agree 100%. But try to imagine if you're a dealership and you're spending $10,000 a month on pay-per-click, or even if it's $1,000, but you have close to a 40% bounce rate. That means that if you spend 10 G's, literally $4,000, as soon as you spend it, you should just give it to charity, because that's what's happening. You're only about 60% of people theoretically are going to even be able to see what's on there, and you get the value from it. So, and here's part of the conundrum, because these companies know that their infrastructure, their technology is antiquated or it sucks, right? Or they don't have the bandwidth to turn around and customize it the right way and build the pages and the backlinking and all the stuff the right way what Google wants. You know what their answer is? It's like Chris Rock. You ever see that comedy? Robitussin. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right.
I got a headache. Robitussin. You know what Robitussin is for these freaking vendors? PPC.
Yeah,
What they do is, it's like you're spending $10 on a steak, but $100 on the ketchup. Ooh,
Yep.
that hurts.
But it's even compounded by the fact that now, if you look at who is competing for PPC ad space, it's the manufacturers. Those are buying those ads. It's the big aggregators, Auto Trader, Car Gurus, all those guys. They're buying ad space. So now the dealers are competing against these guys with major budgets that have a whole lot of game, and they're playing all over the country. You know, you think that cars.com isn't in every little city and every little town buying up PPC ads? No, they definitely are. And you see that all over the place. So then further, it's compounded because what I've seen is that the PPC campaigns that a lot of these web platform companies are offering are only focused on the one single geo market that dealership serves. So if they're in Philadelphia, they're just Philadelphia. They don't buy any geos that are nearby. Well, that's missing out a massive market share that's right nearby. That's going to come and drive and buy a car from you if they're within 20, 30, 40 miles. They're just missing it.
I'm going to build on 2 points you just said. I'm going to build 2 points of what you just said. One is, not only are they competing with their manufacturer, their own manufacturer,
right,
and their PMA, they're competing with these third-party providers, aggregators, and their competition. But what does that mean, competing? That means that they're driving the PPC cost up. Yep. Okay, so if the click cost, like if it was just you, 30 cents, because right, you're bidding on these keywords, you might bid it to $3 or something stupid because you're yep, bidding against your own manufacturer. The other aspect of this that yep, I want to bring up here is that they also suck at PPC too. Let me explain to you, because what they're doing is, part of PPC is not just knowing how to, click the buttons and pull the levers. But again, as an SEO expert that I am as well, is there's something called keyword forensics. They don't do keyword forensics. They don't go, what they do is they have a dynamic system where they McDonald'ize their PPC strategy for all their Chevy stores, right, all their Ford stores. So their creative is basic and it's commercialized. You know, their strategy, their verbiage, their keywords, all that stuff. They don't do any relatively valuable customization or yep, spend unique time on there. Would you agree?
Yeah, absolutely would agree. And there's a major dearth of the ability to do good retargeting as well. And retargeting is when you can capture information about people coming to your site and then advertise to them in the future when they go to some other platform or they're on Google shopping in some other place. Like, you know, that's a massive benefit to PPC if you can really bring that kind of stuff. But there's really very little going on in some of those things. They don't use dynamic display ads. There's all kinds of different things that are holes right now. They're just very far behind in terms of the overall strategy for PPC, and even further behind in the overall strategy for SEO and organic traffic growth.
Let's go. So let me recap on this. So in my opinion, I'm not going to have him getting shots fired. You know what I mean? So I got the Spectrum Kevlar vest, trauma 3 plate. I'm good. So the reality is this: if dealers really understood what's going on, there's no reason whatsoever to take one of these crappy basic websites. I mean, it's so disturbing when I audit these sites. There's a software, you could just go to Google and type in plagiarism software, right? And what it does is, I use it on an SEO level, is I will turn on it and right click and cut the content on these dealers that I'm auditing, and I drop it in there, and it tells you how many times it's been reused and recycled, which gives you zero SEO value. You know what I mean? So,
correct.
They just basically have a shell, and in my opinion, not his, but my opinion, they're raping dealerships. They're just taking all this money, and we're not talking about a little bit of money. These companies are bringing in hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars. Yes. Yo, I'm not saying I'm talking about dealer.com, but they did get acquired for over $1 billion. Yeah. So when you have Cox Automotive that acquires a company like dealer.com for $1 billion, and that company is straight trash, and I'll go on record, that's my opinion. Dealer.com is just straight trash. It's an antiquated platform, and I have never seen a dealer.com website that basically, you know, is structurally the right way, from the technology, from the functionality, from the content, and then putting it all together in an ecosystem. Now, here's the other part of it. What they don't tell people is, and again, I don't know what the stat is. You're the current expert. I wrote my Google Applet book years ago, but when I wrote my book, at that point, there's two types of SEO. You have on-site SEO and you have off-site SEO. On-site SEO is only arguably about 25 to 30% of the overall SEO strategy should be, which means that a larger portion of a business's overall strategy is the other content that could get indexed as well. So, most of these companies have zero skills. They don't even talk about it. It's like, don't ask, don't tell type stuff. So what would you say, this is a first direct question of like best practice stuff. What is the formula of offsite, on-site strategy in your digital portfolio, so to speak? What do you think that mix should be?
After these messages, we'll be right back.
Did you know 40% of service calls go to voicemail or hang up?
Your call has been forwarded to an automated voice messaging system.
How many times does it take for your customers to connect with someone at your store?
The world may never know.
Unless you have CallSource customers connect with 96% of their clients' calls and convert over 85% of bookable calls to appointments. Really? If you're not performing at that level, or if you don't know, then text HELP to
855-963-2686
and receive a free evaluation of your store's performance.
I think it's important to maybe explain to dealerships kind of how Google works at a real basic level quickly.
Please.
If you think of your website as literally a web, the spider web, right? What its job is to capture traffic on Google. So when people search for something on Google, they're going to put a search keyword in there. They're going to push go. And then if your website shows up, then it's done its job. It could catch that customer, right? Now, if your website is really small, or if it's full of holes, meaning you don't have all the content you really need, because people search for lots of things in lots of different ways. I mean, every year, Google says that 15% of the keywords that are searched on Google are completely brand new, never been typed before, right? So that shows you that there's a lot of variety in how people look for what you offer. They might type in a make and a model. They might type in a used make and model, or a new make and model, or something Ford F-150 under $30,000. I mean, there's lots of combos of the ways people look. But if your website, that web, isn't big enough or complete enough to capture all the ways that people are looking, you're just missing traffic. Like, it's flying right by you. It's going right through your spider web because you haven't done a good job keeping it up. It's out of date, so it's not sticky anymore. It has lots of gaps in the content. Like, that's kind of how Google works. Like, you have to have a big enough, complete enough, new enough, fresh enough web to capture that traffic. If you don't, you lose it. So that's, I'm not sure exactly, how you think of offsite, onsite, but the way I think of it is, offsite SEO is really more about, in my mind, how people are linking to you or getting to you. Like, are they creating backlinks to you? Are they reading your articles? Are they publishing or reposting something that you wrote or whatever? Content marketing is external to your website. But on-site SEO is all about the web that you've built of good, solid content, very optimized for what people are looking for, kept up to date and kept current, and not full of holes, right? It's got to be that way. Unfortunately, most dealers platforms are just not like that. They have maybe 200 pages, maybe. They drop pages all the time, like I told you about. They don't keep things well optimized. They don't actually, keep all of the used inventory that they've used to sell, or older year make and model pages that they're not currently selling. Those are gone. But people are looking for that. And today, with all the inventory shortages, used car sales is super important. So if you don't have any pages about the 2017 year's makes and model, or make and model you sold, you won't rank for it. And guess who will? Car Gurus, Cars.com, all those guys are getting that business where you could be getting that business. So does that help a little bit? You think that explains kind of the basics?
100%. You know what I mean? Like, what I would say is this. I have a little bit different definition. It doesn't mean that I'm right. That's why, like I said, I wrote the book, a while ago. To me, on-site SEO is optimizing the website itself, whether it's the back end, it's the content, H1, H2s, the title tags, all that stuff.
Okay.
On-site SEO, and this is the whole concept of my book, Googleopoly. There's only about, I'd say 0.6% of people go past the first page of Google. So the goal in my vision, my Googleopoly book, was to come up numerous times, if possible, in the first page of Google. Because if you do, you have a bi-directional positive effect. One is you are pushing out Car Gurus and your competitors, but you're also, it's like having a lottery ticket, but instead of buying one lottery ticket, you got 10, like 8 lottery tickets or 4 lottery tickets.
Right.
So, offsite SEO to me is being able to do things like video search engine optimization, which is my preeminent superpower. That's I'm better at video optimization than traditional SEO. Being able to optimize videos so they can index organically in SERPs, right? Or optimizing images. From Pinterest and stuff like that, because Pinterest is to pictures what YouTube is to video, or press releases not as much as they used to, but there's so much content, whether they're podcasts or their videos or their press releases or whatever. So the idea is, the only thing you have is your website, abcmotors.com.
Right.
That's it. Theoretically, the only thing you show up in the search for is abcmotors.com or possibly one of the sub pages, but that's it. But if I could show up for abcmotors.com and I could show up for others, I'll give an example for me. My website is dealersynergy.com. However, I have other sites. Like I have a website that's ridiculous ranking. It's called automotiveinternetsales.com. It's built on a Ning platform. And so it's SEO juice like crazy. It doesn't matter that there's a direct domain match URL. If you go into Google and it's like typing gambling or typing, online, if you type in automotive internet sales, which is a major category, out of, I think, over 100 million results, first position natural Google, not just on my desktop, anywhere else, is this website. Dealer Synergy might not be there, but you see, to me, that's being strategic, that I'm not a focus page or a landing page. I'm talking about a full-blown website that's optimized. Does that make sense?
Oh, absolutely. I think we're just using some different terms for the same ideas, but for you, what you're talking about is there's definitely value in having a presence on different search platforms. So Google's one, but then there's YouTube, there's Vimeo, there's Pinterest, Instagram, like there's all these other search platforms. That's one way, but all of that content can also live on your website. But even more importantly, or additionally, I should say, not more importantly, if you have a website that has got a lot of those subpages and a lot of content that has every year, make, and model you sell, has all the used cars you sell, that has all the different ways people search for service or parts or different things like that for all of the local geos in your area, it's literally thousands of pages of content. Dealers around the country that have been super successful with SEO have spent years building those things up. So they get from, the 200 or maybe 100 pages you get out of the box from one of the standard web platforms that the manufacturers are authorizing. Instead, you've got, 5,000 pages, 10,000 pages that are all, slowly built over time. That's the way to go. But that's an expensive proposition. And that's what MarketPage is actually here to solve, because we do scalable SEO stuff, which we can talk about as you like. But you're right about all those things, right? You got to have a complete content web and multiple types of content.
So let's go now. Let's transition, because the first part of this was I wanted to just do that public service announcement. Like, look, especially now when we're in a pandemic still. Like, it might not feel it for some of you guys because you don't have to wear masks and you're vaccinated, but we are in a pandemic. We are in a global chip crisis, which is severely affected inventory, which happens to be one of the biggest ways that search engine optimization works for dealers, because the inventory is getting indexed, or should be theoretically getting indexed, which drives eyeballs, traffic, conversions, blah, blah, blah. So right now, if you think about this, when dealers need marketing the most, when they need every customer they possibly can you imagine if you actually have a 2022 Toyota, Camry in stock, and you could get 5Gs or 6Gs over sticker for it if you're in California or whatever it is. But, these companies are not doing their job. Dealers don't know better. They're putting their trust in and blindly a lot of times, and they don't understand what's going on. And then these people come in, and when dealers don't know how to reconcile or read a Google Analytics, assessment, and they just start spinning BS like, oh, you have these, VDPs and SRPs and you have views, and dealers like, well, I don't know.
Yeah. No, I've talked to about 100 different dealers, and not a single one of them has been happy with their organic traffic. Not one. They're like, we don't know what to do. I don't get it. What's the problem? Right.
So now let's transition now for the rest of the conversation. What should a dealer do? So like, let's just say that I have Bradley, let's just say Bradley Porsche. I like Porsches. So say if I have a Porsche dealership, you know what? I'm gonna go a little bit differently. Let's go use Chevrolet. Okay. The reason why I'm saying that, you know what? Even better. My daughter works for the Kia Subaru side, imports. So let's just say Subaru. This is even perfect because they're a kind of niche brand. So let's just say that I am Bradley Subaru. If I own Bradley Subaru and I've got a website, bradleysubaru.com, and I am in Vineland, New Jersey, for example, I'm in South Jersey. Tell me what should be important to me. If I say to you, like, if I said to you, here, let's pretend I'm a dealer for a second. I say, Waylon, listen, I am so glad that I found someone like you. I mean, shit, if you're doing SEO for these mega brands like freaking Expedia, Grubhub, Airbnb, Travelocity, and what is it? Advanced auto, auto parts and things like that. So if you're that caliber, then you could help my single point, Subaru dealership here in Vineland, New Jersey. And listen, I'm not going to be like a regular dealer and bitch and complain. Like, I know that I don't know what the hell I'm doing. And you are the expert. Just tell me what to do. I calculated, I lost in the last couple of years over $60,000 lost. You know what I mean? Because I didn't know what I was doing, and I feel like I got taken advantage of. What should be important to me? How do I build my website and my organic search strategy? Go.
Okay. So there's definitely one challenge to kind of consider right up front, which is there are co-op dollars sometimes involved in this. And sometimes you don't have a lot of choice. Like, if you want to receive those dollars, you have to use certain platforms. Okay. Let's set that aside for a minute though. What the solution is you have to fill your content gaps. Now, what I mean by that is when you think about all the ways people search and where your audience is coming from, where are your customers coming from? They're coming from not only the city you operate in primarily, but all of the neighborhoods and the cities nearby, and where maybe even some of your competitors might be. I don't want to say anything too bad there, but they're going to be people searching from all these local areas, right? So that's one thing to understand, that people do this. They search for the car they want plus the area they're in. Now, if you can think about that for a minute, then you need content for those local areas around you. But then you also got to think about other things, like how else do people look for what we offer? They're going to search for different years, makes, and models that you offer. They're going to search for used cars in their area. They're going to search for types of cars. I'd like to have a 2020 truck under $10,000. Like, that is the way people search. They look for types of cars like truck, SUV, all that. They look for price ranges. They look for, is it used? Is it new? Is it pre-owned? Is it, all those things, certified? These are combinations of keywords that people use all around you in your city and in all the local areas around you. If you don't have a page on your site that can rank when someone types in, I want a, Ford F-150 2020 under $30,000, right? Then you're not going to rank for it, right? But I guarantee you the other guys have that page. Like, if you go look at cars.com and all those, these pages exist. They build them out because they've done the research and figured out people search this way, they search that way, they search that way. So taking an assessment of what is the content on my site? Is it permanent there, or is it disappearing all the time? Is it the right type of content? Does it have good structure? Technically, is it built well? Is it loading fast? Do people stay on the page for any period of time? Is it useful? Are they clicking through? Conversion rates and all this stuff is important. So, if you want to fix your problem, you have to first understand what you're missing. And then you have to figure out how to achieve getting that built, right? Now, there are two different ways you can do that from this point. You can begin to do it manually. And over time, you could write new articles or new posts, auto comparison, like Ford F-150 versus Toyota Tacoma, right? That's a great page, right? There's a lot of people searching for that. But I know dealerships that are paying thousands of dollars a month to have a page like that written, maybe two of those per month for thousands of dollars a month. So it's going to take you years to do this manually. And that's what I realized when I came in to look at the space, is that there is no platform right now that does use a data-driven approach to this, where you can actually programmatically create tons of great, rich content with all of the SEO optimizations and all the technical stuff built in correctly, all the internal linking done right, all that kind of stuff. There's just nothing out there that's doing that at this point. Our technologies were built for enterprise clients where that has to happen. That's like the minimum. You have to have that kind of stuff happen. So I thought there was an interesting opportunity to kind of bring this newer technology from the enterprise commercial space more into the dealership automotive space.
Can you give examples? Because like, again, I get it, obviously, but I
Sure.
have a little bit different experience. But when you're talking to a dealer, like be a little bit specific. So what does that look like? So if I use an example, if I own Bradley Subaru,
Mhm.
how should SEO be done, or how does your technology work? I'm just curious.
After these messages, we'll be right back.
Attention auto dealers. You need an opportunity to do business. AutoWeb is one of the largest suppliers of high quality leads. High quality buyers. At a 10% closing ratio, you will be at less than $190 per car sold. Don't just settle for what you get. AutoWeb can fully customize your results through targeted markets and/or zip codes, and as a partner, you will get premium placement within search results. Who better to do that than literally the people that invented automotive internet sales? If you want to sell more cars more often and more profitably, then you need AutoWeb.
Sure. Okay. Well, let's take that specifically. So what we would take a look at is in the Subaru maker space, there are, X number of models of Subaru. There are people looking and buying Subarus from, 2015 up to now, 2022. So look at all the years that are the most popular that people are still interested in buying. Look at all the models you have. And then from there, you have to see, can I create those pages that are about a 2015 Subaru Outback or a preconditioned used 2215 Subaru Outback? Like, how are people look for that particular page? That Subaru dealer needs to create that wide variety of pages, because a page that's optimized for that, the page that is set up for that 2015 Subaru Outback, that's what it's going to rank for, is people typing in that keyword and variations of that keyword. It's the piece of your web that's going to catch those particular flies, right? You need to add all those chunks of your web, fill in all those gaps. You're going to capture all those people out there looking for all of the inventory that you have, your used inventory and your primary inventory that you sell, right? So that's kind of the short version of it. I mean, we that's what we do. We come in and assess using data. What's in your inventory? What have you sold in the past? What are the makes and models you sell? What are the best years? What are the most important models? And then we take all that data, aggregate that together, and our platform is able to generate all of these pages. And, like as an example, for the comparisons, like that's a big way people look. They want to search for, hey, tell me, is this truck better than that truck? Or what's the difference between this car and that car? Most dealerships, when they're putting up these kind of pages, again, they're doing it maybe 1 or 2 per month. We just put out 600 pages for a Ford dealership we're working with in a matter of weeks, done, right? And that's all of their makes and models, all the years, everything compared to other makes and models. So the most important trucks, they saw all the different Ford F-150, 250, 350 Transits and all that, compared to similar cars in Toyota, Nissan, all those other things like that. So it's the only way to go, really, to create a complete content net, is using a more modern approach in generating that content programmatically.
This is absolutely fascinating to me. A couple things I want you to kind of share with us is, what are some things that you could share with dealers that they're almost probably or almost definitely not doing right now? So what should they be doing? Like, that has to do, everything you just mentioned,
Yep.
it's left up to the company, the vendor they're going to use.
That's true.
What should a dealer be armed with knowledge? So I'm the owner in my imaginary world right here. I'm the owner of Bradley Subaru. And so I want you to talk to me like I'm all these other dealers are going to listen to you on the podcast in the group and say, okay, so
Yeah.
Sean, as the dealer principal of Bradley Subaru, here are the most important things that you need to know and be able to say and make sure that you get when you speak to an SEO company.
Sure. So I think the first thing you want to make sure you have a good handle on is, what is your current level of organic traffic? Where are you starting from, right? If you know that, then any SEO company you can talk to can be measured against that as a baseline, right? If that's where we start, then whatever that SEO company does for you, and if it's more of a traditional SEO company, They're going to write blog articles for you. They're going to write comparison pages for you. They may write a service page. There's a number of things that they can do more manually to add content to your, whatever your platform is, if it's dealer.com or DealerOn or CDK or whatever it is. They can add pages to that, and they can write that content manually. And that's a good thing, definitely, but you definitely want to have that baseline of where are you starting. I think the other thing you want to do is understand how many keywords are you ranking for right now in the best way you can. Like a tool like SEMrush is a very easily available tool to go and see, hey, right now my site's ranking for, 400 keywords or 500 keywords. And generally my traffic per month is whatever it is. And that's your baseline, because from there, then you can judge how successful you are by how many keywords you start ranking for in the future. Are you increasing that number? Because again, the more keywords you rank for, especially on page 1, even on page 2 these days, it's actually, you do get clicks from the second result page on Google, and you didn't used to, but you do now more, because sometimes people have to dig deeper to find what they want. But anyway, want to measure the number of keywords over time. Is that increasing? Because that's a precursor to traffic. The more keywords you rank on, then when someone eventually searches for it, you catch that person. Right. So that's the second metric that's probably the most important. But the last thing that I think is really the hardest thing for dealers, as far as I've now learned, is tracking the traffic, the unknown visitor that comes to your website, to a sale. Right. Mapping that and understanding that. So if somebody comes in and fills out a lead form, or they click on a car and they click to call you or whatever, make sure, find out if your, CRM can capture that lead, tag it as organic, and then track that all the way to the sale, because then you're going to start to know how valuable is organic traffic. For every 100 visitors that you get, are you converting any of those to sales? 1, 2, what's it like? And most dealers don't have that capability, and it's definitely a massive gap in their ability to understand the value of Google.
Man, this is absolutely powerful. I want to just go back to something, and I want your opinion on this, because you mentioned a couple moments ago that sometimes these dealers feel like they're chained to the OEM website recommendations because of co-op. I disagree personally, but doesn't mean that I'm right. I want to debate this or have this conversation with you. What I tell dealers is, look, you should always follow what the manufacturer says. To be compliant, get your money, and be in good graces. But that doesn't mean that you have to take their shitty website as your primary. Right. What I say, and I tell people all the time, and I want you to let me know if I'm doing the right thing still, is I'll tell them, take the damn OEM website, switch that URL to a .net. Okay, so it's bradleysubaru.net, kill all but 3 pages on the website, simplify it, buy the most basic ghetto ass package you can from these extortion people, and then just turn around and eat it. It's the mafia vig. They want to wet their beak. That's what it is. So let them wet their beak, and then get a real damn website that actually works. But you have to have a strategy. So to me, it's like almost turning that site into a microsite. So if it was me and I'm the dealer at Bradley Super, I wouldn't give a shit if that site worked or not. You know what I mean? Because I'm just basically paying the mafia vig to the dealers. But I see dealers that takes the shitty website with the shitty services, and what they do is you take the lowest package because they know the website sucks, or they spend all the money knowing the website sucks, but they don't get something else that works properly. But instead, they're going to get all these other third-party providers. They're going to get all these SEO wannabe companies, or these PPC companies, and these API companies. And here's on a fiscal level. Let me blow your people's mind for a second here. This is what that I do on a daily basis. Okay. This has happened yesterday. I'll turn around and do an ROI assessment, and I'll ask a dealer, okay, how much are you spending for your website? First of all, they have no idea. Most of the time they'll say, I'm spending $3,000. Yeah, great. Break it down. What do you mean? I'm paying $3,000 for a dealer.com. Well, what is the core website? What is, the organic SEO, cost
package?
Package. What is the PPC management cost? What is the PPC ad spend? Including, I could put in retargeting there, what have you. Then I'm going to say is, what are all the APIs or widgets that are on there, whether it's for trade, it's for credit, it's for chat, it's for digital retailing. Okay, what are all those things and what are the costs for them?
Right.
Then what else are you doing to drive traffic to that website that you're paying for? Paid Facebook ads, Instagram ads. And they're like, why do you want to know that? Watch this. I add all that shit together, and let's just pick a number that happens to remember in my head. And let's just say that number is about $12,937, right? When you put all that crap in. Now, what I'll do is I'll ask them, how many leads did you get? And then they will turn around and say like, okay, let me check. Then CRM, like, don't go to the damn CRM because the CRM, just go to the back end of your website. Okay. From your OEM crappy website or whatever website you have. And if you basically find out, all I care about is email leads that you have, like contact forms. And I'm going to start for sales stuff.
Right.
So contact forms for new cars, used cars, test drive requests, any type of sales type thing. I'm not worried about like map requests or directions and shit like that. I don't care.
But transaction oriented requests.
Exactly. Yeah. Then I'm going to go into the next question and I'm going to ask this, which they're like, what are you talking about? I want to know how many phone ups, to be fair, that are coming from there. How do we know that? Well, you should have a call tracking number on your main website that's on your website to be able to do that. So watch this. If you take $12,937 you spend for everything, okay? That's for your website, honestly. If you divide that by, you ready for this? You divide that by, let's just say 97 leads. Okay, folks, that comes out to $133 per lead. That means you're a freaking sucker. You're getting clubbed like a baby seal. Let me repeat that. You're getting clubbed like a baby seal. Because and then when I say that to them, this is what happens. That's their mouth that you just heard that drops. Like, holy shit, I never thought of that. I'm like, well, think about it.
Yeah.
Think about it. You know what I mean? You are paying all that money for stuff and like, well, we need it. Like, really? Okay. Is it really worth $133 per lead? Because I could go to Autoweb, which is a good company. And for $12 a lead, I could buy, new car leads, or for $16, I could buy used car leads, or the reverse, whatever it is. Between $12 to $16, I could pay for leads. They come with insurance, and I'm not selling them. I'm just trying to prove a point, meaning that if there's a duplicate or there's a bad lead, I either get it credited or I get it replaced. You don't get any of that shit on your own website with all those APIs, widgets, SEO, PPC, and all that stuff. But dealers across the United States are having, if you look at the per lead opportunity, the per appointment, the per show, the per sale, it's completely out of whack because they're not tracking it the right way.
Yep.
As an expert you are, what do you think about what I just said?
No, you're 100% right. The way you calculated that was the right way to calculate that. And there's just a lack of awareness in general. And I'll be fair, it's not just dealers. Even some of the enterprise clients I've worked with in the past have a hard time actually breaking that all the way down. So don't feel too bad, dealers out there. It's not an easy problem to solve, but it's a really important thing to think about, because you want your website to be a revenue generating source, right? It needs to be 100% clear what you're paying for and what you're getting. That's really important. If your website ranks for keywords that are not transactional, like they're informational, you don't sell anything. Those are people just searching for stuff and trying to learn things. So you want to make sure your website is capturing people who are looking to buy. And then you want to prove that that's happening by taking them all the way through the funnel, from them coming into the site, down filling out a form, to buying a car. Find out what's happening if you can. And unfortunately, a lot of the CRMs out there don't really offer a good way to do that. And there do need to be some manual processes you need to put in place, if you don't have them already, in your shop, to make sure your salespeople are kind of getting the leads. They know where they're coming from, and then they're reporting the sale, and that gets back up the pipeline. So you can actually see what I call the organic conversion rate, right? From an unknown web visitor to an actual sale. What is that conversion rate? And that's the key number you want. That can lead you back up to your value per lead from your website, and whether or not is this growth in traffic actually valuable to me, right? So you're totally right on, Sean.
Thank you. Now listen, Wayland, I could keep going and going and going, but folks, this is the first time I ever spoke to Wayland. Just so you know, like literally right before I went live is when we got introduced. True or false?
True. Absolutely true.
This is absolutely not rehearsed. This is absolutely not baited. Are you paying me $1 for anything?
Nope.
Okay.
Not $1.
Am I paying you $1 for anything?
Nope.
So check this out. Like there's no money exchanging here. There's no Machiavellian strategy here. There's no Illuminati handshake going on. This is just two real people talking real shit to help you people out.
Yeah.
So what I want to do is this: how could somebody get a hold of you or your company if they want some help and be able to get some? They can't call Ghostbusters to get their SEO problem fixed. They need to call MarketPage. So
they can, they could call MarketPage. It's marketpage.co, marketpage.co, not .com, .co. You can go check that out there, and my email and all that stuff's right there. Happy to do it. I'm sure Sean can get that out to you as well if you need it.
All right, everybody, I got to wrap this up. I got to get ready for this, for this TV show stuff I got going on. I got to get ready.
So there you have it, the Millionaire Car Salesman podcast. This podcast comes to you every week from the city of brotherly love, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. If you have a question about the show or would like the chance to become a guest, feel free to contact us directly at 856-546-2440 or email us at millionairecarsalesman@gmail.com. This program is a presentation of Synergy Records, produced by Tiana Mick and L.A. Williams. Production and engineering by L.A. Williams. The Millionaire Car Salesman podcast is hosted every week by L.A. Williams and the Millionaire Car Salesman himself, Sean V. Bradley. The Millionaire Car Salesman podcast can be found everywhere, so please don't forget to review, subscribe to, and share the show. Thanks for listening to the Millionaire Car Salesman podcast, and remember, where I'm from, money provides options. The Millionaire Car Salesman podcast is sponsored in part by Autoweb and Call Review. If you enjoyed this podcast, then make sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and leave us a review. Let some other folks know about it. Oh, and don't forget to join the Millionaire Car Salesman group on Facebook. We'll see you there.